I have some good news and some bad news with this Back to Eden gardening system update. We really do believe in the Back to Eden gardening system. It's a lot less work. There's no tilling and digging. It dramatically reduces the weeds. It incredibly holds the moisture. It keeps the soil soft. And another thing is it keeps your feet from getting all muddy. And if you're in the garden a lot, you end up wearing pads into your lawn. And so we loved it so much that we decided to go ahead and cover the whole garden area, the pathways, with the tree mulch that we use in our gardening. In addition to that, we have some bins here that we now keep additional tree mulch here, so that when we want to add more tree mulch, we have it right here. And so this is just what we keep on hand, so we don't have to get a truckload every time we need some more. One thing that we have noticed is that everything that is said in the Back to Eden film is true. The amount of weeding we do is almost non-existent. The amount of watering we do depends on whether we follow the system as indicated in the film or not. So this is the bad news. For example, here are some onions here. And last year I had really great onions here. These onions are doing fine. They're doing okay. But when you compare the health of these onions to the health of these onions, and these obviously look a lot healthier. The bulbs are larger, the stalks are thicker and greener compared to these onions that are in the mulch. So what's the problem? If we're using the Back to Eden system, these should be healthy and thriving and doing great. Well, what happens here is that whenever my wife walks by and these need watering, she waters them. So they have no mulch to keep the moisture in, but they get all the water that they need. Over here, this is in the mulch, and so she doesn't water them by hand. The problem is the mulch is very thin. You see that? It's about an inch thick. So we have found in all of her raised garden beds where she's got the mulch, it does not work unless it's about 4 inches thick. It does help reduce and retain some water, even if it's only 1 inch thick, but it does not really do an amazing job where we haven't needed to water at all if it's 4 inches thick. So all the way through here, we've had the drip irrigation system going because, as you can see, it's very thin here. Okay? So that's the bad news. The bad news is, if you don't follow the system as outlined in the backtoedenfilm.com website, then you won't get the results that they show. Although, with a little bit of drip irrigation and the mulch, we have had a pretty successful garden here. But let me show you what really happens if you do it right. Before I show you that, I watched a video I put up about a year ago, and it showed our backyard before we had the tree mulch put in. And it was a nice backyard, but it was pretty boring. It was just grass. This really looks like it has a lot of character. And as you can see, things are absolutely thriving in this mulch. I keep wanting to water everything because it's been in the 90s for weeks now. We haven't had a decent rain. We've had, like less than 1/4 of an inch every once in a while. But so I just have this urge. I know I need to water these trees. But as you can see, they're doing great. These are my Asian pear trees, and with no water at all, these trees are 2 years old. They are just doing amazingly well. As I came through, I thought, well, I need to put in a drip irrigation system because the blueberries, I don't know if these blueberries are doing as well as they should. Well, they look pretty good. This watermelon that my wife planted last week is doing great here also. This blueberry plant here is just loaded. But this zucchini that was put in about 3 weeks ago is doing amazing. None of these have had water. But, they need water. I know as a gardener they need water, and it's my duty as a good steward to take care of them. Now here we have some dried leaves here. But look at all the blueberries on that plant. The zucchini's looking great. So I decided to put in a drip irrigation system. All I can say is, oh ye of little faith. As I get the drip irrigation system laid out, I started digging down through the mulch. Look at that. Absolutely black, beautiful mulch. And it's doing exactly what is indicated on the film, and that is it retains the water. Now we haven't, like I said, had much rain at all. Very, very little. And so I was honestly concerned. But as you can see, it just is black, beautiful, it's moist, it's cool, and without watering, the plants are doing amazing. Now we haven't gone through a full summer here yet, and we may be getting up into the hundreds, and it may be weeks without rain, so I am putting in the drip irrigation system while it's not too hot right now, so I don't have to do it out here when it's 100 degrees. But I tell you, everywhere I dig, it doesn't make any difference. Look at that. It's just beautiful, cool, rich, decomposing, moist mulch. Have faith. Trust the film. Trust this real example here. I haven't watered these at all. I'm just going through, just showing you randomly what this looks like. Everywhere I go, even though we haven't had decent rain in a long time, it's moist, and it's moist all the way down to the ground. Now, let me show you here. This has got to be where we get the least amount of rain at all. It's right next to the shed. Just almost no rain at all gets over here. But the same amount of rain that gets here, and this does not have any mulch on it. And this is rock. I mean, literally, it is hard. I cannot. There we go. That is what the soil would be without the mulch. You can have this with no watering, or you can have this with no watering. Deep, beautiful mulch. I encourage you to have faith. Please try this. If you haven't seen the Back to Eden film, please go to backtoedenfilm.com. Why have soil like this that it takes no effort, or have soil like this, the only effort is to drop the mulch on top of it. You never know when you're going to need to live off your garden. Do it now before you have to, because this process does take time. We put this in last November, and as you can see, it is doing wonderful. Everything we put in this mulch that's 4 inches thick or thicker, probably 4 to 6 inches, is just doing amazingly well. So I would just, from my heart, encourage you, if you haven't tried this yet, please call up the local tree service. Ask them if they can drop over some mulch for you. And then just put it down by following the instructions on the website. And look what you can have here. It's just absolutely amazing and gratifying to me that this really does work. It's so little effort with such a great reward. Here, let's go over here. One more spot over by the fence just to see what it looks like. About 1 inch is dry, and underneath, look at that beautiful, cool, moist compost. Doesn't get any sprinklers, just what comes from the sky, and it's doing beautiful. The ground underneath it is moist. The grass is dead. It's been less than a year. It's doing great. So please give the Back to Eden gardening system a try. I promise you, if you follow the instructions in the videos, you will not be disappointed. You will have great, healthy plants thriving with little effort on your part, no watering, and great rewards with the fruit and vegetables. Do it now before you absolutely have to live off your garden. if that ever happens. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. And if you take the time now to put in a back to Eden garden, you'll be richly rewarded.